your hand so people can see you. Mrs. Weeks is a social and human rights advocate with a long-standing commitment to the protection of vulnerable groups, particularly women and children. She's a graduate of the University of the West Indies Global Campus, where she earned a bachelor's degree in social work. She's widely recognized in Dominica for advocacy on issues such as child abuse, gender-based violence, and social justice. Notably, she has led public campaigns calling for stronger legal protection of minors, including spearheading a national petition to raise the age of consent. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Delia Coffey. And the other judge assisting Ms. Sejan this morning is Antonia Yankee. Very good. Antonia Yankee works with the Ministry of Education as a guidance counselor in the Northern District, working in schools from Hollywood to Maribot. She's also the founder and manager of a home for the elderly located in Salisbury. Ladies and gentlemen, Antonia Yankee. And so again, our topic for today is Dominica should amend its Sexual Offences Act to allow limited publication of the identities of accused sexual offenders in the public interest. Proposing the topic is the Dominica Grammar School, and opposing the topic is the Wesley High School. I will now introduce our proponents to the topic, and when I've introduced each candidate, each speaker, I will ask her to come forward and take the seat. The proposing school will sit on this side, and it will be the Dominica Grammar School. And the first speaker for the Dominica Grammar School is Kayla Benjamin. Kayla Benjamin is a Form 4 student. She's a business major, and her favorite subject is mathematics. She wants to be a teacher when she grows up. She lives in former Monrovia with her family. Ladies and gentlemen, the first speaker from Dominica Grammar School, Michaela Benjamin. Supporting Michaela today is Miss Lydia Charles. Lydia is a Form 4 student at the Dominica Grammar School. She is a science student. Her favorite subject is chemistry, and she wants to be a cosmetologist. She lives in Canefield with her family. Ladies and gentlemen, Lydia Charles. On the opposing side of our topic is Wesley High School. So they will be called forward to sit on this side. The first speaker is Hepzibah Adimola. Hepzibah is in Form 3. She's a business major. Her favorite subject is mathematics, and she hopes to become an accountant. She lives in Walhouse, Louvier with her family. Ladies and gentlemen, Hepzibah Adimola. For Wesley High School is Nayola Ali. Nayola is a Form 5 student. She's a business major. Her favorite subjects are biology, mathematics, and business. She wants to be an architect when she grows up, and she lives in Eggleston. I also wish to recognize my timekeeper who will be assisting me today, and that's Ernie Pascal, who's a paralegal student at the Dominica State College. Thank you, Ernie. So let's talk a little bit about how this is going to happen. So, the leader of each of the teams gets 10 minutes, while the supporter gets 7 minutes to make their presentation. So the leader of the proposition shall make a case for a maximum of 10 minutes. That would be Ms. Benjamin. Then, the leader of the opposition shall make her case for 10 minutes, and that would be Ms. Adimola. After that, the second speaker for the proposing team will make her presentation for 7 minutes. That would be Ms. Charles. After her presentation, the second speaker for the opposing team will make her presentation for 7 minutes. That will be Ms. Alina. After that, we will have a 5-minute complete silence. That's always the hardest part for me, personally, where they will plan their rebuttal. At the end of the 5 minutes, the first speaker for the opposing team, Ms. Benjamin, will give her rebuttal for 3 minutes, and then the first speaker for the opposing team, Ms. Adimola, will give her rebuttal for 3 minutes. Now, Ermine is going to be my timekeeper, so she will tell me when there's 1 minute left. I will raise my hand at that point. Ermine will tell me again when time is up, and I will raise my hand again at that point. I'll try my best to keep my hand up until the speaker sees my hand. But you know, I'm not as young as I once was. So I hope that they will look in my direction when it's almost time so they can see that my hand is up. And so I think we have covered all in terms of the rules. I will say when I come to the podium the amount of time that the speaker will use, and will let the audience members know that, and the judges as well. I would like to just spend about a minute or so just telling you who the sponsors are before I go to take my seat and call the first speaker to the podium. So the sponsors: Josephine Gabriel and Company, and sponsoring Quenchy and Papito, Dominica Social Security, Nagico Insurances, Central Cooperative Credit Union, KFC, the National Bank of Dominica Limited, Domnec, Lindomat, Insurance Companies of the West Indies, Dominica News Online, Maisel Pascal and Grace Foundation, Freeman Consulting LLC, Emonews, DBS Radio, Q95 FM Radio, Dr. Shana Casimir, Sherry Roll of Sashiko Life, Dr. Eileen Peltier, Yakima Coffee, Elaine Renee Vodka, Shams Eats and Treats, Dr. Mary Pascal Afan. The partners for the debating competition are the Dominica State College and the UWI Global Campus. I'm going to go ahead and proceed to my seat, but before that, I would like to welcome Michaela Benjamin to the podium. Michaela, come forward, but you will wait for me until I get to my seat and begin timing, so you can already come forward. Our topic is Dominica should amend its Sexual Offences Act to allow a limited publication of the identities of accused sexual offenders in the public interest. And our first speaker from the Dominica Grammar School proposing the topic is Michaela Benjamin.
The shield cannot become a shadow. Organizers of the Intersecondary School Debate Competition, moderator, honorable judges, members able colleague with the opponents, and members of the audience, good morning again. The law is often described as a shield, a solid visible barrier meant to protect innocent from harm. But a shield only works when it is held in the light. When the law deliberately hides the identity of the accused, when the law deliberately hides the identity of someone accused of a serious sexual offense, that shield stops becoming a protector and starts being a shadow. And we know how dangerous a shadow can be. A shadow is where a predator hides the identity. A shadow is silence that tells the victim, no one will believe you. A shadow is the darkness that allowed Larry Nassar, a serious sexual offender, to abuse children for 20 years, while the system looks the other way. Judges, in that shadow, justice doesn't just go blind. It becomes an accomplice. That is why we stand here today. We are not here to take away anyone's rights. In fact, we are here to pull back the curtain. We propose that Dominica amend its Sexual Offences Act to allow the limited publication of the accused when the public interest demands of it. Now, this motion is very specific and specificity is our friend. Let us examine exactly what this motion is saying. Accused, according to the Sexual Offences Act 1, number 38.1, means one of two things. A person named in an information alleging that the person has committed the offense. And B, a person who appears before the court charged with the offense. Judges, the Act 1 clearly states that once someone is under this law, the public cannot publish or broadcast anything that could identify the complainant or the victim. This rule has two exceptions. A, if the complainant or the accused asks the court to lift the restriction, the court can allow it if keeping it a secret would unfairly limit reporting and it is in the public interest to reveal their identity. And B, if the accused is tried and found guilty, the identity can be made public after conviction. Amend, according to the Oxford English Dictionary, means to improve a law. Limited publication means control, legally approved disclosure, not social media chaos, not village talk. And public interest, as defined in Black Law's Dictionary, means what protects the safety and well-being of a society. Put simply, this topic explores changing the law to allow certain information about people accused of sexual crimes to be made public. It addresses the tension between protecting the identity of the accused and ensuring the safety of the community. So let us be clear. We are not tearing down our Sexual Offences Act of 1998. We are fixing a gap. This motion is not about punishing people early. It is about protecting people early. Judges, my role today is to drive two heavy nails into the coffin of this opposition. One, the law must prevent harm, not just react to it. And two, justice must be seen to be trusted. Nail number one, law must prevent harm, not just react to it. Right now, the system waits. It waits until someone is convicted. It waits until the case is strong. Sometimes, it waits until it is too late. And sexual offenses do not usually happen once. And the evidence proves it. Professor Magdalisi, 2016, found that 69% of offenders had admitted to crimes not on record. And later research showed that 73.8% had committed previous offenses. The United Nations Office on Drugs and Crimes also reports that in the Caribbean, fewer than 1 in 10 sexual offenses are reported. So, by the time a name is finally exposed by the courts, there may already be many victims behind it. And judges, that leads to one truth. When the law stops becoming a When the law stays silent, it no longer acts as a shield, but becomes a shadow that the perpetrators hide in. Judges, here are two real-life examples. Look at Larry Nassar, the former USA Gymnastics and Michigan State University sports doctor. He sexually abused over 150 young athletes over a period of more than 2 decades. Judges, that's a major mistake. Despite complaints being made as early as the 1990s, he was not arrested and ultimately convicted until 2017, meaning the abuse continued for roughly 20 years before justice finally caught up. And when survivors finally found the courage to speak out, many said the same chilling words. I thought I was the only one. Judges, this is what happens when the accused remains unnamed. Let us also consider the case of Harvey Weinstein. For decades, rumors circulated, but it was only when the first of the public allegations were published that dozens of other women realized they weren't alone. This transparency turned a series of unprovable private encounters into a global movement and a successful prosecution. Without that initial public disclosure, many of the victims would still be living in the same shadow. I am the only one. Judges, this current system isolates victims and protects predators. Let us fix that now. And nail number 2, justice must be seen to be trusted. There is a long-standing legal maxim. Justice must not only be done, but must be seen to be done. Justice that exists behind the veil of secrecy is justice that will not be trusted. And justice that is not trusted will not be you. This unravels the principle of open justice. Our opponents defend the current system in the name of due process. However, they ignore a fundamental pillar of due process: public confidence. In the Australian Law Reforms Commission's analysis of Commonwealth law, it found that open justice is a cornerstone of our legal system. It is the only way the public can scrutinize the courts, and it is critical to maintaining faith in the law. The U.S. Supreme Court in Rio Oliver ruled that justice cannot survive behind walls of silence. They argued that public scrutiny is not a threat. It is the primary safeguard against a miscarriage of justice. Judges, the data from the UN Women, Caribbean, and CARICOM is clear. 2 of the top 3 barriers to reporting sexual offenses are a fear of disbelief and a lack of trust in the justice system itself. Look at Jeffrey Epstein. For years, victims stayed silent because they thought they were alone, while he moved freely through the community, unnamed and unchallenged. When a survivor watches that, while carrying their experience alone, the message they receive is not due process is working. The message they receive is this system was not built for you. This silence doesn't protect the victim. It protects predators and erodes the public faith in the law. By allowing for limited, regulated publication of the accused's identity, it tells the community, we are taking this seriously. It tells potential victims, we are seeing what is going on. And it tells the survivor, you are no longer alone in what you know. Judges, we need to ensure that the law is not a private shadow for the few, but a public sword for the many. Honorable judges, let's ensure that the shield of the law is transparent enough to be trusted and firm enough to protect. Because once justice becomes a shadow, it no longer conceals harm. It creates it. I thank you.
and 17 seconds. We now move on to the first speaker from Wesley High School. I call her to come to the podium, and then once I get back to my seat, I'll give her the thumbs up so she can begin. The first speaker for the Wesley High School opposing the topic is Ziba Angola.
Honoring judges, worthy opponents, my brilliant colleague, ladies and gentlemen. Good morning. The proposition asks us to trade presumption of innocence, the very DNA of our legal system, for a vague shifting notion of public interest. They want to take Section 38, subsection 1 of our Sexual Offences Act, which explicitly states that any matter likely to lead members of the public to identify an accused person shall not be published or broadcast in Dominica, which is the very shield of our judicial integrity, and melt it down into a sword for the war. This is a trial by TikTok, where the verdict is reached before the court's clerk calls the court to order. Therefore, we oppose the motion which states that Dominica should amend the Sexual Offences Act to allow limited publication of the identities of accused sexual offenders in the public interest. To put the topic in perspective, let us examine our key terms. The Sexual Offences Act, according to Dominica's Constitution, is the official piece of legislation that consolidates, defines, and sets out the strict laws and punishments for all sexual crimes committed within the country. Limited, according to the Law Dictionary, refers to something confined within positive bounds, restricted in duration, extent, or scope. Publication, according to Legal Information Institute, is the act of making something known to the public at large to inspect or scrutinize. The accused, as derived from Dominica's Constitution, refers to any individual who has been formally charged with a criminal offense and is subject to legal precedence before a court of law. Public interest, according to Black Law Dictionary, refers to something in which the public, the community at large, has some pecuniary interest or some interest by which their legal rights or liabilities are affected. To prove that amendments will not be in the public interest, I will scrutinize three main points. 1. The irreversible stigma. 2. The erosion of legal bedrock. And 3. The shield fallacy. And my colleague, while making some recommendations, will demonstrate that agreeing with our opponents does not protect them by focusing on 1. It encourages vigilantism. 2. Judicial inefficiencies are not in the public interest. So my first point is the irreversible stigma. The proposition wants to amend Section 38. But once you let the genie out of the bottle, we cannot put it back. So if there is publicity, what happens? Imagine a teacher is accused of sexual harassment, and under the proposition's recommended amendment, the moment the accusation is made, his name is published. Overnight, he is no longer a teacher. He is a monster. He is suspended, whispered about, avoided. 6 months later, the court declares him innocent. Does society apologize? No, because once a name is clean, the world really waits for the truth to clean it. A simple Google search still brands him a sexual offender. His career is over. His family is shattered. His reputation permanently scarred. And this is not hypothetical. In 2013, the United Kingdom, before stronger and unlimited protections, a university student was falsely accused of rape. He spent nearly a year under public suspicion. Friendships lost, future uncertain, career prospects collapsed, all under the weight of an unproven allegation. A year later, he was acquitted by the jury in less than an hour because the evidence was so weak. Yet, the damage was already done. A year of mere destruction for less than 60 minutes of justice. There is no gentle way to say this. Once a name is public, the damage is often permanent, even when the accusation is works. So the question is not whether justice works in the courtroom. The question is what happens before justice arrives. Justice in the courtroom may declare a man innocent, but it cannot erase public judgment once society has already executed his character. So my second point, the erosion of the legal bedrock. Publishing names at the mere stage of accusation. And we don't handle the public the power of a verdict because this amendment treats an arrest as a conviction. Let's be clear about what publication should be signaled. The moment the state publishes the name of an accused, it whispers to the public, we think this person probably did it. That whisper poisons the truth. Because how can our adjudicators, 12 Dominicans, remain truly impartial when they spent months reading monster, rapists, envious in the comment section, hearing it on every radio station and from their own neighbors, families, and friends? Taylor 2007 confirms that myths and stereotypes about sexual violence are common within the general community. And since children are drawn from that same community, the bias they carry into the courtroom reflects the bias outside of it. Research by the U.S. Department of Justice further confirms that high-profile media coverage can prejudice legal proceedings and lead to wrongful conviction because the pressure to get the monster overwhelms the fact. We cannot allow the mob to dictate the gavel. My worthy opponents, Section 38, subsection 1A states, and I quote, where on the application of the complainant or the accused, the court directs that the effect of the restriction is to impose a substantial and unreasonable restriction on the reporting of proceedings, and that it is in the public interest to remove the restriction in respect of the applicant. End of quote. It already allows a judge, a trained legal mind, to lift anonymity when it is truly in the public interest. So why take that power from a rogue judge and hand it to a sensationalist blogger? The proposition will tell you this is only for limited cases in the public interest. But who defines public interest? And how limited is limited? In Dominica, where everyone knows everyone, once a name is out, it is out. This amendment does not aid justice. It makes a fair trial statistically impossible. My third and final pillar is shield fallacy. The proposition claims to stand for victims and protect them, but in reality, they are unmasking them and causing far more harm than good. The moment you publish that a 50-year-old man in Marigot is accused of abusing his niece, you have publicly outed that child. You call this protection, but you strip her of her dignity. Is that your public interest, or is it a blood spot for the audience? In anti-Smith communities, the identity of the accused is a roadmap to the identity of the victim. Name the father, you identify the daughter. Name the teacher, you narrow down the students. Researchers call this jigsaw identification, where scattered details combine like puzzle pieces to expose the child to the community's prying eyes. A 2025 article by Queensland Council for Civil Liberties confirms this danger directly, stating that given that the overwhelming majority of sex offenders are known to or related to their victims, the first people likely to be harmed by the publication of the names of sex offenders are the victims themselves. And so, the proposed amendment designed to protect them becomes the instrument of their exposure. Out of the accused, in many jurisdictions, acquittal rate for sexual offences can reach as high as 30% to 40% due to insufficient evidence. If we publish names at the mere accusation stage, we are dismantling the lives of people that the state itself will eventually admit it cannot prove are guilty. So who exactly are we protecting? Not the victim whom we have unmasked, not the innocent whom we have destroyed. We are protecting no one. We are simply feeding the public's appetite for scandal and calling it justice. Madam Moderator, the Sexual Offences Act is not broken. Section 38 is a safety valve, not a gag order. I have deliberated irreversible stigma, the erosion of the legal bedrock, and the shield fallacy. It is now crystal clear that it is not in the public's best interest to amend the Sexual Offences Act. If a man is proven guilty, let his name be shouted from the rooftops after the gavel falls. But until then, the state must be the guardian of truth, not the herald of gossip. Do not let our justice system be cannibalized by curiosity. Therefore, reject the motion. I thank you.
That was the first speaker for Wesley High School, our opposing team, Ziva Adimuna, and she spoke for 10 minutes. We now move on to our presentations from our supporting speakers, or second speakers. And so we begin with the second speaker from the Dominica Grammar School. That is Lydia Charles. She will have 7 minutes to make a presentation. And invite her to come forward. And when I go back, I'll give her a thumbs up for her to begin. Ladies and gentlemen, Lydia Charles.
Organizers of the Inter-Secondary School Debate Competition, moderator, honorable judges, my most able colleague, worthy opponents, and members of the audience, good morning. The privacy purity. Once upon a time, in a quiet village not too far from here, stood a beautiful house with the heaviest curtains you've ever seen. The neighbors were told a comforting fairy tale that those curtains were there to protect privacy. They were told that what happens behind closed doors is sacred. That innocent until proven guilty means they must all pretend that the house is empty. But every morning, the village children still walked past that gate. Every evening, parents still felt a chill they couldn't explain. You see, the fairy tale of privacy tells us that if we don't name the monster isn't there. It tells us that silence creates safety. But judges, when the law hides a wolf behind a curtain of privacy, it does not protect the village. It simply leaves everyone guessing who will be beaten next. Judges, that house is Dominica, and the curtain is the current Sexual Offences Act. I will now join my colleague in laying this debate to rest by driving the 30 glass nails into this coffin. 1. It prevents rumors. 2. It is the duty to warn. And 3. The absurdity of selective secrecy. Nail 1. Preventing the grapevine, the science of rumors. Let's start with facts, not feelings. A landmark 2018 study published in Science by Soroush Bazoli found that false information spreads up to 6 times faster than the truth on social media. Similarly, UNESCO reports that when official information is withheld, people naturally fill in the gaps with speculation. Now let's bring that home to Dominica. When the law stays silent, Dominicans do not stay silent. We talk, but we don't talk with facts. We get the political Marvel version, the Martin the Morning version, the WhatsApp status version that sends everyone running to Facebook to play detective like Sherlock Holmes, and the scandalous Dominica breaking news version. Everyone becomes an investigator, and we literally end up with 5 versions of the same story. So I ask, is this the protection the opposition is proud of? A system that replaces the rule of law with the rule of gossip? Because silence does not stop information. It simply ensures that the wrong information wins. We need to replace dangerous speculation with controlled truth. To do this, we must amend the Sexual Offences Act to allow limited publication of accused identity. Nail 2. The duty to warn, explaining Sarah's law. Now, who is the system actually meant to protect? Children, young girls, the vulnerable. They rely on the system to warn them. This is exactly why the United Kingdom introduced Child Sex Offender Disclosure Scheme, commonly known as Sarah's Law. Let me explain it simply. Sarah's Law allows parents, guardians, or carers to formally request information from the police about whether someone who has access to their child poses as a risk due to past sexual offenses. If a risk is identified, the police are legally empowered to disclose that information, but only when necessary to protect the child. This is not reckless exposure. This is controlled, responsible disclosure, and it works. Since its introduction in 2011, over 10,000 disclosures have been made in the UK, each one a potential case of harm preventing. That is not theory. That is protection in action. Yet, our opponents are asking us to wait. Wait for conviction. Wait for proof. Wait for damage. Wait. Judges, we need to move from a system of wait and see to one of warn and protect. So we must amend the Sexual Offences Act to allow limited publication of accused identity. The last and final nail to seal the coffin: the absurdity of selective secrecy. Now, let's talk about fairness. In Dominica, if you are accused of stealing a boat in Castle Bruce, your name is public. If you commit fraud at Roseau Credit Union, your face is on the news. And if you are suspected of a robbery, the entire country knows before the sun sets. But when it comes to sexual offenses, the most invasive, repetitive, and psychologically damaging crimes, we suddenly become silent. Mark Wester. Why? Why is the most serious violation of personal safety given the darkest curtain of secrecy? Does a fraudster deserve less due process than the sexual offender? Of course not. Judges, on 8th March 2026, a letter to the editor of DBN highlights the plight of one mother who we interviewed thereafter. She made a report about her daughter's sexual abuse 1 year ago. She argues that the police are yet to do anything about it. Up to now, the perpetrator has not been named. Papa met judges. How many more girls has this bus driver molested since? Judges, when the law stays silent, people lose trust in it. A justice system must be credible to be consistent. Right now, this one is not. Judges, do we keep the curtains closed? Or do we replace fear with truth, silence with protection, and secrecy with safety? If we live here today and choose silence, then tomorrow's harm will not be an accident. It will be a decision. And honorable judges, that is a decision we must not make. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was the second speaker from the Dominica Grammar School, Lydia Charles. Lydia spoke for 6 minutes and 38 seconds. Now we have the second speaker from the opposing team, the Wesley High School. And that speaker is Naila Ali. Representation. Ladies and gentlemen, Naila Ali.
Madam Moderator, honorable judges, worthy opponents, esteemed colleague, ladies and gentlemen, good morning. My colleague has dismantled the facade of the proposition. Now, I shall bring the hammer down on their logic. My opponents are advocating for institutionalized character assassination. Justice is built on proof, not assumption. Therefore, we firmly stand against this motion. There are two counts in this indictment, followed by recommendations. One, it encourages vigilantism, and two, judicial inefficiencies are not in the public's interest. Madam Moderator, let us examine vigilantism. The proposition wants us to believe that publication serves the public interest. But no, publishing limited or full before conviction is not transparency. It exposes the individual and their family to public outrage and retaliation. Let us be honest, when people hear accused, they do not wait for a verdict. Emotion takes over, and suddenly the public becomes judge, jury, and executioner. That spells danger. According to Human Rights Watch in its report, No Easy Answers, Sex Offender Laws in the US, 47% of registrants reported harassment, 28% received threatening calls, and 16% were physically assaulted. Let's come closer to home. In Jamaica, in 2021, Levi Chambers was beaten to death by a mob who wrongly identified him as an accused man who had abducted 2 girls. He was innocent, but he is dead, Madam Moderator. That is the reality of vigilantism and emotion. It does not wait for facts. It does not verify. It acts, and at most times, it is wrong. And in Dominica, it would be no different. A recent letter to the editor on DBN concerning a bus driver who allegedly touched a girl child inappropriately sparked national outrage. In the comment section, citizens openly called for vigilante action. Take matters into your own hands. Some matters need to be dealt with deep in the bush. Hash you, chop you. Honorable judges, this was a social media jury ready to crucify a man without evidence or without trial. Now imagine giving that same public legal permission to have a name. We conducted a survey of 40 individuals. 85% initially supported immediate publication and 15% opposed it. But when asked, what if the accused is later found innocent or your own family member, support dropped dramatically. The demand for publication of the accused is not driven by justice or public interest, but by emotion, anger, fear, frustration. I will confess, I too get emotional in such cases. But changing the law should never be dictated by emotion, but by logic. Laws must be guided by principle, not pressure. Yet, principles mean nothing without a system capable of sustaining them. Which brings me to my next point. The judicial inefficiencies continue to fail both the victims and the accused. Consider that a complaint is filed. 1 year later, after 2 reports, nothing has been done. Who is to be blamed when the institutions tasked with the investigations fail to act promptly? Madam Moderator, this is what is not in the public's interest. A system that delays justice, not a law that protects identity. Let us now examine a case reported in the Sun newspaper on April 1st, 2024. Convicted sex offender released after successful appeal of 35 days sentence. A man was accused of horrific crimes against a minor in 2013. He was convicted in 2015. He filed an appeal, which was only heard in 2023. 8 years later. And what did the court find? Serious irregularities. 1. Judicial interference in how the jury was guided. 2. Delays in the investigation. And 3. Questions surrounding the sufficiency of evidence. The result? The conviction was put to rest, and the man was discharged. Now let's pause. This was a convicted man whose name had already been published. 9 years later, the system said, we got it wrong. So I asked, if this can happen to someone who was convicted, what will happen to someone who is merely accused? Are we as a society prepared to destroy lives based on allegations within a system prone to human error? and one that has clearly shown itself to be slow and at times flawed. Honorable judges, Dominica is a small society. With or without publication, people talk, speculate, and assume. There is no need to formalize gossip within a policy. And the reality is that 100% of lawyers surveyed agree that the Act should not be amended. They argue that the broken part of our system is not privacy, but the lack of resources. We all agree on one thing. Sexual offenses demand urgent action. But our system creates an environment where perpetrators may go unpunished, mainly because of our systemic inefficiency. Hence, we recommend one, improving court efficiency to reduce case backlogs. 2, establishing a specialized court to handle cases involving children with urgency and sensitivity. 3, strengthening evidence collection such as DNA and forensics to boost convictions. And 4, expanding the victim support to focus on the healing of the survivor through state funding, counseling, and protection programs. And yes, we call on every citizen, report abuse and report perpetrators. But Madam Moderator, let us clear one thing. We support the existing Sexual Offences Act, which allows for the publication of convicted individuals. Once guilt is established, only then should names be made public, from Capuchin to Kashaku. Ladies and gentlemen, we have built our case on the solid rock of law and reason, not emotion. Honorable judges, an accusation should start an investigation, not end a reputation. Stand for fairness, stand for justice, and firmly oppose this motion. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Naila Aline, and she spoke for 7 minutes and 23 seconds. It is now time for both sides to plan their rebuttal. I'm going to talk slow, so we can start already in 45 minutes, So our topic is Dominica should amend its Sexual Offences Act to allow limited publication of the identities of accused sexual offenders in the public interest. Dominica Grammar School has been proposing the topic, and our first speaker has been Nikita Benjamin, who is supported by Ms. Lydia Charles. On the opposing side is Wesley High School. First speaker is Zephiba Admola, and she's supported by Naila Aline. It is now time for them to formally organize their rebuttal. They have 5 minutes in which to do so, and you and I are being asked a very, very, very serious thing of remaining silent for 5 whole minutes while they do that, and then I'll return to the podium so that the first speakers for each side can go ahead with their rebuttal in 3 minutes. I ask Amin to put 5 minutes on the clock now as I walk back down to my seat, and we give them the time. Amin? Michaela Benjamin. She will speak for 3 minutes maximum. I call her to come to the podium. When I get back to my seat, I will give her a thumbs up so she can begin her rebuttal on behalf of the Dominica Grammar School. Ladies and gentlemen, Michaela Benjamin.
To the honorable judges, the moderator, my opponents, and members of the audience, good morning again. Judges, imagine if I had a plate of cookies and I placed it on top of your desk and I told you not to uncover the following topics. Wait until I come back. Wait, wait, wait. Judges, what do you think you'd want to do? You'd want to lift it even more. This is the dilemma in our current justice system. This is what happens when you do not reveal the identities of the accused. Because the public will not stay calm. It will go looking for it. And that causes chaos. Judges, for instance, they say, judges, that it will encourage vigilantism. My opponents, I acknowledge you. What is causing more vigilantism? Is not knowing the name of that blue bus driver. Without telling the audience the truth, they will go and find it themselves. You see, judges, control truth informs, while silence inflames. They also claim that jurisdictional inefficiencies affect the victim and the accused. Judges, if the court is unbiased, that speaks to our justice system. You see, judges, that is what we came here to do. Not just to tackle opponents, but to change the justice system. You see, if an unbiased court can handle evidence, they can't handle unawareness. And lastly, judges, my opponents claim that there will be an irreversible stigma. Judges, as I stated earlier, only 1 in 10 sexual offences are reported. So how many more are not reported compared to those falsely accused? What is the point of a justice system that is unable to stand for what is right and watch the innocent get harmed? You see, judges, controlled identity is not declaring guilt. It is acknowledging that justice has begun. Honorable judges, I would like to put you in the place of the victim's parents. Imagine you send your child on a bus to go to school, and judges, they come back in tears, a mess, complaining to you that they were molested. How do you think you would feel if justice had the audacity to tell you that they'd rather protect the identities of the accused than help your child? Because you see, judges, the opposition wants to protect identities, while we are here to protect lives. I thank you.
That was Michaela Benjamin presenting the rebuttal for the proposing team, the Dominica Grammar School, and she spoke for 3 minutes and 9 seconds. The opposing rebuttal will be presented by Efziba Adimola. I call her to come forward. She'll have 3 minutes to make her presentation. Once I get back to my seat, I will give her the thumbs up. Ladies and gentlemen, Efziba Adimola.
Once again, good afternoon. Good morning, everyone. After much deliberation from my colleague and I, we did found some flaws with my opponent's argument. First, my opponent stated that innocent until proven guilty means we should stay silent, which is in our public interest to safeguard other potential victims. The proposition confused curiosity with public interest. Justice is not served by headlines, but by fair trials. Public interest does not mean public exposure without proof. True public interest lies in protecting justice, not prejudicing it. Publishing identities before conviction turns suspicion into perceived guilt, undermining the fundamental legal principle of innocence until proven guilt. My opponent also stated that amending the Constitution encourages victims to come forward. Victims need protection, not publicity. Turning cases into public spectacles silences them, not supports them. There is no strong evidence that naming accused persons increases reporting, because even now that we don't expose the accused, people report. In fact, it can discourage victims who fear media attention, backlash, or being indirectly identified. My opponent also stated that it protects society from potential offenders. We cannot protect society by punishing people before they are proven guilty. That is not protection. An accused person is not a proven threat. Publishing their identity may create false panic and misdirect public fear, especially if the person is later found innocent. My opponent also stated that it does not build trust in the present, that amending the Constitution brings trust into the justice system. Ladies and gentlemen, let me inform you, this actually has an opposite effect. Imagine someone is publicly named. The public assumes guilt. Months later, the court finds them innocent. What happens? The individual's life is ruined. The public begins to question, can we trust this system? Because instead of trust, you get cynicism, fear of false accusations, loss of confidence in legal fairness. Trust is when justice is seen to be fair, not when it is seen to be rushed. Ladies and gentlemen, I have exposed this. We reject the motion. I thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that was Hetsiba Admola of the Wesley High School with her opposing rebuttal, and she spoke for 3 minutes and 16 seconds. It is now time for the judges to retire, or not retire, now to go away from us and discuss and come to a conclusion about who will be our winning school for 2026. Again, our judges are Head Judge Indira Seja, and Ms. Seja is assisted today by Mrs. Delia Coffey-Weeks and Ms. Antonia Yankee. I invite the judge's assistant to escort them out of here so they can go and do their deliberations. And we hope to see them very soon. Very soon. Yes? And ladies and gentlemen, I will just give you an idea of what the judges will be deliberating about as they head out. So in the prepared speech section, they are looking for soundness of points, logical development, audibility and clarity, posture and personality, command of the material. And that is worth 100 points. In the rebuttal section, they are looking for team coordination, general analysis of the debate, recall of points, ability to refute the points, and spontaneity, and that is worth 60 points. So this is what the judges will be looking for. Again, our judges are Miss Indira Seja, our chief judge, who is assisted today by Mrs. Julia Coffey-Weeks and Miss Antonia Yankee. And we thank them for their service. Also, there have been several people who have made themselves available for the 2026 National Debates Competition, and I would like to recognize them at this time. Serving on the committee that plans everything, we have Mrs. Alicia Jajak, Kimisha Warrington, Alden Gage, Rhonda Luke, Daisy Williams, and of course Ms. Trudy Christian. So we thank them very much for their service. And it is on occasions like today when we have a very good, very solid debate that I'm always grateful that again and again, what I'm most asked to do is to serve as moderator rather than as judge, because I don't want that done, you know. Although I train both the judges and the moderators, I always prefer to moderate because then I can sit and enjoy and not have to worry about having the people's fate in my hands. But I would like to call the list of the debate officials who have served for 2026, and these are Andrea Christian, Felix Wilson, Elizabeth Xavier Daly, Antonia Yankee, Brenton Hilaire, Dr. Barry Casimir, Marianne Emmanuel, Carlton Lando, Merita Hyacinth, Karaya John Baptist, Nicola Ville, Indira Sejan, Ashley Massacant, Tidra Kirby, Jenny Jackson, Melissa Morgan, Nadine Rivera, Kyle Lander, David Edwards, Daniel Wilson, Jaya Pendek, and the humble servant, Dr. Imon Joseph. And so I thank everyone who has been assisting for 2026. Some of these people, some of these names have been with the official list since the revitalization of the debate competition, and some of them were there even before when the Kiwanis ran the secondary schools debates. So we are very grateful for that. Our sponsors for 2026 Inter-Secondary Schools Debate Competition are Josephine Gabriel and Company Limited, Dominica Social Security, Najibo Insurances, Central Cooperative Credit Union, KFC, National Bank of Dominica Limited, Domlec, Lindomat, Insurance Companies of the West Indies, Dominica News Online, Mason Pascal and Grace Foundation, Freeman Consulting LLC, Emonews, GBS Radio, Q95 FM Radio, Dr. Shana Casimir, Cherry Roll of Statutory Life, Dr. Ali Feltin, Yakima Coffee, Elaine Reddy Buncombe, Shams Eats and Treats, Dr. Barry Pascal Afana, the partners in the competition at the Dominica State College and the UWI Global Campus. I invite the presenters to go down for now and join your school and your parents and your friends to get your well wishes as we prepare for just a little discussion while we wait for the judges. So please give a round of applause for our presenters. As I said earlier, I'm not a judge, I'm not witness for that. But I do want everybody to understand, both those in the audience with us today, as well as those who are viewing us online and listening to us on the radio, how difficult it is to stand here as a child and to present on topics like these for debates. How much hard work it takes for a school and a debate team to prepare for a debate competition, and particularly for those schools who are here today who have gone through round after round successfully. And I keep reminding schools and students all the time when I moderate for occasions like this that the majority of the people who would stand by and criticize could not do this. Falcons will take them and will not be able to do what these four wonderful girls have done. The research still shows that 98% of the world's population is afraid of public speaking. And so the joke always is that if they are at a funeral and they have the option to be in the casket or giving the eulogy, they will choose to die. Okay? Choose to die rather than speak in public. So it's not an easy thing to do. So while we have some time, while the judges have gone away, I listened intently to the presenters, and so I have a few questions. I'm not sure who is going to be assisting with the roving mic today. Hello, what is your name? You can say it in the microphone.
Mitchell.
Okay, so Mr. Mitchell has the mic, and I'd be very grateful if this was not a monologue. I'd be very grateful. Do we have prizes for people who, like we used to have before, when people answer questions? We don't do that anymore? Oh, they're going to do it for the love of talking then. So I have a few questions that I jotted down as the presenters were doing their presentations. And I'd be very grateful if the members of the audience could indulge me by having a discussion while we wait for the judges to return. And so the first question I have is, what are some of the reasons why victims do not come forward to report sexual offenses? What are some of the reasons why victims do not come forward to report sexual offenses? You pick the people. We'll come back to you. What are some of the reasons why people do not report sexual offenses?
Some people don't report sexual offenses because I feel that when you see they report it, the backlash, right? They will feel like other people are their opinion, you know. Yeah, they just condemn them, you know, until they pass, you know, give them bad comments, you know, and they tell them bad things overall, and that will give them regret their decision and coming up with a justice.
Very good. Anybody else on that side before we move to the other side? What are some of the reasons why victims do not come forward to report sexual offenses? Go ahead.
I feel like victims do not report because they are afraid of the media. Because in Dominica, there's a thing, bring one, bring come. Before something happens, 5 seconds, the whole of Dominica know. You know, I mean, no child wants to be going around and people say, boy, that child was raped. That was the child the bus driver had sex with. You know, I feel like that's what. And another reason is maybe sexual molesters threaten them. Say, if you go and tell, I'm going to kill you. No child wants to be dead. Nobody wants to be dead. Thank you.
Thank you. Very good. Everybody else on that side before we move to the other side? What are some of the reasons why victims do not come forward to report sexual offenses?
Well, my boy was close to her anyone. Some people, they feel like when they talk about it on the internet, the offender might feel like coming after their family as a way of revenge.
Very good. All right, we'll come to the other side now. What are some of the reasons why victims do not come forward to report sexual offenses?
Where I come from, I know it happens a lot. And majority of the time, it's not only about being like talked about, but the fact that some people feel ashamed when they get molested, which, for example, a young girl has been molested from the age of 5, sometimes 8, and while growing up, sometimes they live with their molester, and just growing up in it, and when they do find a way to come out, it may be hard because of the amount of period of time they have been in the home. Furthermore, when they go to court, majority of victims don't have someone to support them, and it makes it hard for them to stand up in the court with their molester and speak out, and then to be on the media, it gives them the anxiety to stay inside because everyone knows that they have been molested and it's going around and this person is talking, and sometimes the support is not there to keep them going.
Very good. Anyone else? Yeah, one more question.
Some people get shown for being molested, and maybe someone says, "Oh, they want this or the right things," and they'll get uncomfortable with it. They get shown, and they don't feel what's supposed to. Then they get killed. Oh, maybe if this happened, then that would have happened.
Very good. Okay. My next question is, does emotional response have a key influence on how we react to sexual offenses? Does emotional response have a key influence on how we react to sexual offenses? Since we're on that side already, we can begin on that side. Does emotional response have a key influence on how we react to sexual offenses? Anybody from here? Right, can move to the other side. Does emotions have a lot to do with it? I know one of the teams spoke about that specifically. Anyone? Yes.
Yes, I think that emotional response does affect the victim. Because let's say I go to my parents and I tell them that I was molested. Personally, if they react like angrily, I think, oh shit, that's my fault. I did that was because of me. Caused me to feel possibly depressed and even kill myself.
Okay, thank you. Does emotional response have a key influence on how we react to sexual responses, to sexual offenses?
I feel like emotionally, like being uneducated is also part of the problem, because if you are uneducated from a young age, like the incident that happened not too long ago with the little girl, she was touched by someone and she did not know that it was a bad touch until they did a census in her school, and then she was informed, and then they asked her like, were you touched? And she was like, yes. And then that's the only way it was brought up, that it was a bad touch. And I feel like they should be educated from a younger age, and that also links to emotionally reacting to it, because if from a young age your parents do not talk to you about these things and you see that they always have a negative impact to it, or like be positive about it, then that will also impact the way emotionally you react to being either molested or whatever the case is.
Very true. Anyone else? Does emotional response have a key influence on how we react to sexual offenses?
Yes, I would say it definitely does, because especially if you were once upon a time in such a situation where you may have been molested, anytime you hear of someone in such a situation, it triggers that type of revenge and that type of vengeance inside of you, and you can react emotionally. That's it.
Thank you. Yeah, go ahead.
I think people tend to react when they can relate to the situation. So, for example, if you saw on like what happened with the little girl, when the mother went on TVN to complain about the lack of justice, I feel like it would be more parents that would be enraged about the situation, because if they have a daughter that they can relate to it. So people tend to react more when they relate to the situation. For example, if you had a sister and somebody complained about somebody touched your sister or something else, then you would feel more inclined to react because you know you have a sister and that could happen to her as well.
Okay. My next question is, what is so special about sexual offences that the names of the accused must remain unmentioned until the case is proven, as opposed to murder, other types of assaults, theft? Okay? Somebody can shed light on that. What is so special about sexual offences that the names of the accused must remain unmentioned until the case is proven, as opposed to murder, other types of assaults, and things like theft?
Well, I feel like it's because it usually, like molestation, happens with younger children. It also happens to boys as well. They have mentioned that boys also do get molested. That is also a problem. But you are infiltrating somebody's body. You make them feel as if they are no longer welcome, because all their other friends, they may not relate to them being touched in that way. They're taking away their sanity. So I feel like their name should be out there to what they did to the person.
Oh, you're answering a different question. What I'm asking is, what is so special about sexual offences that the names of the accused must remain unmentioned until the case is proven, as opposed to murder, other types of assault, theft, these kinds of things? Vandalism, burglarism, these kinds of things. You can say the person name from day one, even before they are formally accused in the court of law. But we're saying that for sexual offences, no. So what is so special about sexual offences, I mean especially quotation marks, that we have to wait until proven guilty? Go ahead.
I feel like nothing. But
Go right ahead.
at the end of the day, because he wasn't found guilty as yet, they was accused. But sometimes, even in the court of law, somebody that did the crime, they was found not guilty. So I feel like the person their name should be out there, but it still shouldn't be out there at the same time, because nobody wants to be called a rapist and they didn't do the crime, you understand? I don't know, that's a very difficult question.
That's why it's a debate question, yes? Very good, thank you. Anyone else wants to tell me? What is so special about sexual offences that the names of the accused must remain unmentioned until the case is proven, as opposed to murder, other types of assault, theft, burglary?
Good day, everybody.
Hello.
I just speak from the standpoint of, this is what you're saying, I do understand where it can be difficult to say that the name should remain unknown or unannounced and so on. And I stand on the basis where that can destroy a life. A lot of times where someone can just lie and say something was done to get out of a situation, and then your whole life is destroyed. Imagine I as a business owner, I'm accused of something like that. That's it, my life is over. Because every go somebody will identify you as that type of person, and you did nothing wrong. But that person accused you. But at the same time, you have to inform the public about what is going on. That same person might be actually doing that. So it's a very hard thing to see. But at the same time, I feel like protection of the person's life, because lies out there, a lot of times there are a lot of lies, and there are people who do it, and there are those who are just accused and nothing else done.
So my question to you now specifically is, so why is it okay for somebody to be labeled before they're proven as somebody who stole money from credit union, but to call him a malambiola is the wrong thing to do? I'm trying to see what is the difference. So you're telling me about lies, but somebody could have lied at the credit union and say you stole that money, right? So why?
I feel like it's a greater destruction of your life.
Okay, tell me.
Because this is being told I stole money, somebody will still, alright, cool, he stole. This is knowing what you're doing. I feel like that act is such a degrading act that you're doing to someone, destroying someone's life, destroying their self-esteem, destroying who they are. So when you indulge in such an act, you're destroying someone's life, and you as well. So I feel like it has a greater effect on your life. This is being told I steal, This is being told, that man knows over there doing so and so. Down there it destroys your life. I think there's more of an impact.
Alright, anybody else wants to share what they feel? Why is it so special? What is so special, quote unquote, about sexual offences that the names of the accused must remain unmentioned until the case is proven, unlike other ones like murder, other types of assault, theft?
Okay,
My response is similar to what he said. The sexual offense is so horrific, especially when it's of minors. People immediately become enraged about it. And it's very easy for people to make emotional decisions. So I think the very nature of the act, of the accusation, you want to ensure that you can verify that that person is actually guilty of what they've been accused of. So I think that is one aspect, that it is so horrific in its impact on the victim. And just in terms of what it entails, that you would want to ensure that if I am going to say that this person, identify the person, I want to be as sure as possible. So I think that is one thing. I think the other aspect is that it tends to be something that happens with no witnesses, with no trace. So if somebody is accused of stealing in credit union, if you are the cashier and the records show that money is missing, generally there's a trail that can be followed. Somebody who's accused of murder, generally there's a trail that can be followed. If there's evidence, there's a gun, there's a knife, there's something. But oftentimes with sexual offenses, there is no trail. There are two people involved, and sometimes you cannot always clearly determine what the truth is. And in our Dominican context especially, we are not testing for DNA, where a lot of the scientific evidence that could allow you to be more definitive in determining that that person is the perpetrator is lacking. And so, although I am not necessarily in agreement of withholding the nails, because you know, you would want somebody who is of that nature to be exposed, we want to ensure that we get it right and that we do not destroy somebody's life over an accusation. And there are instances where people are falsely accused for various reasons.
I think we have a few more people who want to share their thoughts.
Actually, it's a catch-22. Who is more of the victim? The person that is accused or the person that has done it? Most studies have shown that sexual abuse happens within the household with people that you know. It's not a stranger that has his heart and his face covered. It's somebody within your family, within your friends. And so I think it is necessary to protect people rather than protect the person. Worst case scenario, he'll be set free. Best case scenario, we will sensitize the rest of the public and he will not be allowed to do it again. When you commit a murder, it's one murder, but how many victims has he messed with? And to make it worse, in the debate, I didn't hear much mention of young men. Young men are sexually abused and it makes it even worse for them because they cannot speak about it. And this young lady spoke about the educating our youth. From the time my children were small, I spoke to them about it. And it's not just sexual abuse for children, it's sexual abuse within working environments. Nowadays, it might not be as so bad, but back then, managers were very guilty of doing things they were not supposed to do. And so, I think the victim cannot become the perpetrator, and therefore that person has to be told he cannot do it, and whatever, and we publicize it, and if he's innocent, he's innocent.
All right, we'll take one more, Mr. Shrimper.
Okay, so referring to your question, I feel like for sexual offenses, the name should more be raised if it's somebody that has done it before. So, like for example, if he's a known sexual abuser, then his name should be mentioned anytime he's involved in an investigation. And another point that I had was that, referring to your question again, the severity of the crime. You cannot compare like sexual abuse to theft, because in reality, when you sexually abuse someone, you're essentially taking away their life. You're essentially cutting off something from them. That is worse than stealing, in my opinion. So it should be on the same level as murder, honestly.
I would be grateful, and I have two more questions. I would be grateful if someone would let the judges know that I'm running out of questions and they need to come back. So we're going to move on now to my next question. What are some of the dangers that the publication of the identities of the accused sexual offenders can cause? What are some of the dangers that can be caused if we were to reveal the identities of the accused? Anybody want to give it a go? What are some of the dangers of publicizing the names?
I feel like some of the dangers that come from that is that some people will go after those people and try to murder them in their sleep or something.
That's a possibility. Anybody else want to tell me some of the dangers that publicizing the names can have?
Someone being accused doesn't mean that they actually did the crime. So, like, after we pass the court and everything, you know, like, even though the person is not guilty, but at the end of the day, when they walk on the road, they also have a low self-esteem and walk with their head down because they don't want people to come and say, boy, look the rapist, you know, Dominicans.
Boy.
Look the rapist, look this, and that making you feel, you know, it making you feel a type of way, especially when you did not do it. When you go for jobs, nobody wants to employ you because they'll be like, that person is a rapist. They don't want nobody to come and try. They don't want him to come and try and rape nobody at the workplace. So yeah.
Anyone else? What are some of the dangers that publicizing the identities of the accused can cause?
Honestly, I believe that publicizing the name of the accused, it restricts it to people being, the victim being known. So it's like, let's say, a man that's, you know, sexually offended a girl, right? He is not he's not convicted, but he's accused. It would restrict it to the victim being known. And also it would cause some enhance, like in the emotions of people, like they would be like, oh wait, I know that man. And they would like go after him, try and talk to him, try to, you know, get some information. And what if he's not the one? What if he's innocent? What if he's, you know, he wasn't the one that committed the crime? It would not make sense because he's accused, he's just accused, he's not convicted. That's it.
Anyone else? What are some of the dangers of publicizing the identity of the accused? One more person.
Okay, it's down to me. In Dominica, really, our communities are small. So when I identify the accused, then I unintentionally I am exposing the victim. Because yes, so if I say that man from, you see that man that is working at that bank, and he lives there, he abuses me. Then I know the sister only has one daughter. I have exposed her. And initially I was saying to publishers' names because I mean I have two daughters. So I was saying publishers' names. But I found out that really sometimes we expose the victim. And I really feel for victims because a lot of times it happens to children. And when we expose them, we tend to make them get scared of actually talking because they figure all eyes are on me. You pass there and they're talking about me. I go to school and they're talking about me. And so in that case, I say, well, we need to wait, all right, until. And more so, I think we need to get help. So the person might not address that, but I think we need to get help for victims. I don't think we do enough in Dominica to help the victims because whether we like it or not, they are exposed. What do we do for them? How do we assist them? I think we need to spend time coming up with more ways on which we can provide assistance really to the victims because sometimes they do not get it at home. Because if it's my mother's boyfriend and my mother gets vexed because you can't tell people our business, all right? Sometimes the child is at home by herself and she's going through all that. How do we help? All right, because if we say, okay, that mother, but one daughter she has, around that age, we expose them. A lot of times the victims are exposed. And sometimes by exposing the perpetrator, we expose the victim. So we have to try to shield the victim at all costs.
Thank you. All right. Somebody should let the judges know I'm going down to my last question, and then I'm going to have some dead air if they don't come back. We have one more person to respond to that question before I move on to my last. Okay. Because they already should be here by now, so somebody please go and find them and tell them to come in. All right.
Yeah, so continuation to what you were saying about after they accused the person and they were found not guilty, right? When they walk in on the streets, no self-esteem, they cannot find a job, or not so their life at an all-time low, that might cause the person to be suicidal because at the end of the day they cannot find work, they cannot get money to get food, they cannot live up to themselves again, you know? So that is cause the person to kill themselves, do something in themselves, you know?
Very good. Thank you. So my final question is, what would be some of the advantages of publicizing the identities of the accused sexual offenders? So we talked about the disadvantages, but what are some of the advantages? Why would it be a good idea to publish the names of the accused?
Because it prevents the act from repeating itself.
Thank you. Anybody else want to tell us why it would be a good idea to publicize the names and publicize the identities of the accused sexual offenders? Anyone else?
To make the person feel like what they did was wrong. First of all, if I was in that position as the person, I don't know how I feel, but I feel kind of a way. But to make the person feel what they did was wrong, they should be punished.
Thank you very much. Anybody else wants to tell me what are the advantages that they think that publicizing such a list would have?
Yes, one of the advantages I would say is that you are immediately sending a message to potential offenders that you will not hide behind this curtain of non-publication. And it will pose as a deterrent to persons thinking that they can escape.
Very good. I want to thank you, the members of my audience, for engaging me as we waited for the judges to return from their deliberations. We are now ready to hear the critique of our Chief Judge in Seja. I invite her to come to the podium and to give me the scores as she comes forward, so she can give the general critique of the judges about today's debate. Indira, come for me,
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I was nominated Chief Judge today, and I was told because I was a bit late and I'd been here 3 minutes earlier. I don't have been Chief Judge, but I don't buy that story. Alright, I think I will be Chief Judge even before this debate. And the reason being, the debate touches on a legal quandary that we have. And I mean, and sitting at home, I believe that, it is felt that I might have some legal insight into this particular topic. And the topic is one that it's always a timely one, but I noticed just based on my social media feed that is something that is a hot topic right now. Because every time I open social media, there is some form of public debate on the issue. So kudos to Ms. Christian for coming up with this topic as the topic for the final debate. And on that note, we must say that the debate was a very powerful one. We have noticed that it was 15 minutes. Debating today, and it was really worthy of the finals of the debating competition. Now, as judges, we were looking and listening for some key points, and the debaters did not disappoint. One of the points that we were looking for or looking at was the definition of kittens, especially definition in the legal sense. As I always tell my students, they are the ordinary meanings of words, and then they are the legal meanings of words that we ordinarily use. So it was good to see the debaters actually define some of the key terms, but in terms of their legal definition as it is stated in the statute. Okay, so I think both teams did a very good job at that. We'd like to begin with the positive. So when you hear judges' critique, people normally think that we're going to come here and destroy the debaters and tear them apart. But today, we really want to just highlight some of the positives. I think we have one critique point. Most of them are fairly positive. So first things first, both teams properly defined all the key terms, especially from a legal standpoint. We saw both teams giving evidence, very good evidence to support their arguments, right? And as a lawyer, that means a lot because even when we're in court and we argue, we cannot just bring our personal arguments to the court. We have to come with our authorities, right? So we saw both teams come with some very potent evidence, and what we actually applauded them for as well is that they were quite a few local reliance on local evidence. So we saw people quoting the Sun newspaper, the local newspaper. We heard one of the teams, I think, or both, I'm not sure, I don't remember right now, they interviewed local people. So we got, first-hand feedback from the people on the ground, the people who would most likely be affected by any amendments or lack thereof to the legislation. So that was very good on the part of the debaters. And they gave some very good notable examples and also very current examples of evidence to support the arguments. As judges, we also appreciated the use of colloquial language today in the debate. Sometimes the debate can seem as if it's a little bit disconnected. We're listening, but we feel like we're far removed from the debaters. But because of the use of colloquialism throughout the debate, it kind of gave us the sense of being connected with the debaters in their points. And if as judges we appreciated that, I have no doubt that the audience really did appreciate it as well. So thank you very much, debaters, for that. Another important point that we'd like to raise was the fact that the debaters did not just stick to the points that supported their arguments. They came with recommendations, right? So this topic is a very touchy subject, and it's not really a matter of supporting or being against the moves, but always finding that balance, right? So we found that the debaters, although they gave their points, they would have noted that certain recommendations can be made, or alternatives. They actually give alternatives, and that's very important in the debate. It's not just, and I passion that to something like what we have mediation, right? Sometimes you come with your point, but in mediation you have to be willing to move from your point and come somewhere in the middle, right? That is the true meaning of mediation. So I think they did very well in bringing, highlighting, certain recommendations, especially when you look at things like the inefficiencies in the court system. I think they did a very good job at highlighting that, but also saying what they could recommend in way of but publishing the names of accused people. So with that, I also want to highlight just one small critique. We felt that both teams made a general assumption that victims of sexual offenses are, I see somebody in the audience mouthing it, but that's the second point. One, that they are only minors and children. Okay, so I think that was the assumption that was given, but remember, even adults can be victims of sexual offenses, and also that the victims are female, but we know that also male children and male adults can be victims of sexual offense. Right? So I would really like to congratulate the debaters again and give them another round of applause.
Thank you very much to our Chief Judge, Indira Seja, who was assisted today by Mrs. Julia Coffee Weeks and Ms. Angelina Yankee. Thank you very much. And so now I have the pleasure of giving results before I pass back to our MC, Ms. Christian, who will proceed with the prize giving and the closing of our activity here today. The judges have decided that the best, oh, I forgot to call the children back. I was so excited with the people that I have. So the children who come, the presenters, please come back to your place. They tell me, that not believe this business about being late. On the paper I have, it says that your children, and I was typed. So somebody somewhere knew that you were going to be chief judge long before you and I did that. Okay? So that late thing, all right. Everybody in their place? Very good. Okay. So the judges have decided that the best speaker for today's debate is Miss Nayola Aline of The judges have also decided that the best rebuttal for today's debate was presented by Ms. Ziba Adiola. As follows. The presentation of our topic, Dominica should amend its Sexual Offences Act to allow limited publication of the identities of accused sexual offenders in the public interest. Proposing the topic, Dominica Grammar School, at a total of 573 points. Wesley High School will receive a total of 600. From the Dominica Grammar School to walk over to the students of the Wesley High School and congratulate them on the victory, while we wait for Ms. Christian to come forward to continue with the ceremony. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a new debate champion, the Wesley. Very strongly defended title, the Dominica Grammar School, but I'm pretty sure they'll be back next year, right? So, it's the fun time, the prize giving time, the time when people get things. And for their hard work and determined efforts, they are very well deserving. So I will start off though, not by rewarding the debaters who are here at the finals this afternoon, but by doing a special presentation to a school that has been determined by me to be the most improved school of the intersecondary schools debating competition. So the first award I will hand over will be to the most improved school for this debate competition since its inception in 2023. I will give you some cues first. This school, in the knockoff round of the debate competition in January, this school put up the top score in that round, a score of 341 points, and that was put up by their debater, Shania John. This school went on in the second round to be the highest scoring winner of the second round, defeating the Orion Academy
which is a long-standing winner of the Inter-Secondary Schools debating competition, having won once before. And this school in the semi-final round put up a strong performance against the Wesley High School, but the Wesley High School triumphed in that debate. The St. Martin's Secondary School and I call up Shania John and Claire Simon, the debaters in this year's debate representing the St. Martin's Secondary School, to receive this award on behalf of their school. And please do a central handover for media. I want to congratulate the ladies. Both are fifth formers, and I know it is an extremely hard task to take part in a debating competition that spans multiple months as fifth formers. So congratulations. Ladies, this award is for the school, but you will be receiving gift certificates, compliments Dr. Shana Kazemi. Once I get your email addresses before you leave, you will receive those gift certificates in your inboxes. So congratulations, the St. Martin Secondary School. Now we move on to the ladies who are here today. So we did have the best speaker in this debate being Miss Naiola Aline of the West. And I'd like to call on Ms. Cheryl Rowe, who has graciously decided to give an award to the best speaker at the finals of the Inter-Secondary Schools debating competition. So Naiola, please come forward to receive your prize for being the best speaker in this afternoon's debate. Let's do a come center. Congratulations. Also, Naiola receives a gift compliment Shams Eats and Treats and her trophy as the best speaker this afternoon. The best rebuttal was adjudged to be from the Wesley High School as well, from the lead speaker, Ms. Hebziba Ademola. To receive her prize, and Ms. Rowe, also you come up to give your prize to the person who delivered the best rebuttal of today's debate. So Ms. Rowe has given a second prize as well. Congratulations, Hebziba. Rebuttals are the most difficult part of the debate process, and so we choose to very particularly reward that in the finals. Thank you so much. Let's move on to present prizes to the runners-up. From the Dominica Grammar School, very strong performance this afternoon, this morning, in the debate, Michaela Benjamin and the runners-up will receive, of course, their trophies, gifts, compliments, the Inter-Secondary Schools debating competition, gift bags. They also receive gift certificates to Ocean Oasis Hotel. They'll determine what they do with these. No, hold on. Our sponsors have to hand over the prize. So for now, the gift certificates to Ocean Oasis and a cash prize as well in there. Congratulations, ladies. And now I'll call on the representative, the marketing manager from the National Bank of Dominica, to hand over tokens to our runners-up. Stay in place. Just stay in place.
to hand over some tokens from the National Bank of Dominica, and the cash. The National Bank of Dominica will do another presentation to the winners. Thank you. And also to the representative, please still, the representative from KFC, Jade Lindsay, please come up to present some tokens from KFC. Both KFC and National Bank of Dominica are continuous sponsors of the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition. And I thank them for their consistency of support. Ladies, thank you very much. And congratulations for your very, very hard work today. Let's move on to present to the winners this afternoon from the Wesley High School. Ms. Merzida Akinora and Ms. Naola Alim, please step forward while you receive your prizes. Firstly, the trophy handover to the ladies. Now, what will take up that envelope? Take out the envelope from the trophy, please. The envelopes will be passed over. Dominica, she should present the envelopes and the and the gift bags, as the cash prize for the winners is sponsored by the National Bank of Dominica. However, ladies, the cash prize, you only get some of it today. The rest, when you take your grand prize, which is a trip for 4 to St. Lucia, that you will enjoy over the summer. So the rest of will come later. I also call on the KFC representative, Jade Lindsay, to hand over the KFC tokens. Lastly, ladies, I don't think lastly, but the gift bags, that's complements the competition. You can just hand those over. Congratulations. And if you have more space in your hands, maybe they don't, but the last part of their prize, yeah, let them come back. I'd also like to call on the coach from the Wesley High School. Mrs. I call on the coach at this time because at this time, we're going to hand over the big trophy, which goes this year to stay for a year to the Wesley High School. It was just returned from the Dominica Grammar School where it stayed for a year. They kept it very safe. Thank you so much. Now it shifts homes to the Wesley High School, and I want that coach in the middle to raise that trophy as we congratulate the Wesley High School. With the championship trophy. Congratulations, congratulations, congratulations. While we have, are we going with pictures? While we have the coach there, coach, stay right there. We always acknowledge this competition, and it's not done in any other competition I've heard about in Dominica, but because I have been a coach for a long time, I know the importance of coaching, and I know how hard coaches work in this process. So in the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition, we always reward the coaches. So a prize to the coach from the Wesley High School. Mrs. Cavern. And I know she was assisted to by others, so she will have to share. But she represents the coaching team there at the Wesley High School. And from the Dominica Grammar School, one of the most... One of the most exceptional coaches in this competition, always putting out some great work with her students, Mrs. Dr. Francis Simon. We thank you so much for your efforts, and as I said, I know you will be back. And we move on to present tokens of appreciation and thanks to our debate officials who of course facilitated these proceedings today. I will start with the moderator who did an amazing job, as I know she would, Dr. Joseph. Dr. Joseph is the one that can come up with questions to keep the audience going, even when the judges take longer than anticipated. Dr. Joseph, thank you so much for your work today. And then our judges, you took long, but you came back, and we are pleased that you did not just abscond and did not come back. You did come back. I'll start with the Chief Judge, Ms. Indira Selja, to receive our token of appreciation. Center. And the judges are asking if they took long. But it wasn't as bad as we've seen in the past, but it was definitely beyond the 15 minutes. And Mrs. Antonia Yankee. And Mrs. Delia Coffee Weeks. Thank you so much, judges and moderator. I want to especially acknowledge members of the committee. Not all are there, but I will possibly give out their prizes later, since everybody works with me at the Dominica State College. That's how they are on the committee. And then there's my mother who's at home. So I will give them prizes after. But I want to especially recognize Rashad, who is a student who has helped out at each of the debates this year in the intersecondary schools debating competition of the ESC Literary and Debating Society. Rashad has suddenly forgotten his name. But a special gift of appreciation. Rashad, you want a picture? I find. Okay. No pictures for Rashad. Cheryl Roll has said that she has some other prizes. She will hand them out. I guess she came like true Santa Claus bearing gifts to the Dominica Grammar School. She wants to present an additional prize. And yes, I saw some shock at the announcement of the grand prize. So all these many sponsors that we have, it's because the grand prize is a big prize. So the Wesley High School team and their coach or designate chaperones will be awarded a prize, which is a trip to St. Lucia 4-4 in the summer with all expenses paid, hotel accommodation, transportation. The prize is valued at $7,500. That's why we try to get as many sponsors as we can, right? So it is the end of the prize giving segment. No, this is not the end. We have a special prize. Ms. Christian, could you go forward, please? And I will invite Mrs. Ford to come to the microphone. Could you stand center as you've been telling everyone?
Especially when she made mention of the coaches. And as a small business owner and supporting like what I can in education, this afternoon I want to recognize Trudy. So in the spirit of appreciation and thanksgiving, I wish to recognize Ms. Trudy Christian for her contribution to the development of youth, your passion and enthusiasm for debating and public speaking has given a new generation of young people an opportunity for self-expression. We thank you for all that you have done and what you will continue to do in the future. So on behalf of
Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the DSC Literary and Debating Society, I would like to express our heartfelt gratitude to everyone who contributed to the success of today's debate. First and foremost, we extend our sincere thanks to our respected moderator for the day, Dr. Emonews, for skillfully guiding the proceedings and ensuring a fair and orderly debate. We are equally grateful to the judges for today's competition, Julia Coffee Weeks, Indira Sejan, and Antonia Young, for their time, expertise, and impartial assessment of the debaters. Our appreciation also goes to all the debate officials who served throughout the competition. Your dedication and commitment behind the scenes did not go unnoticed. We would like to specially acknowledge our headline sponsor, Josephine Gabriel and Co. Limited, for their generous support and belief in the power of intellectual discourse. We are also thankful to our valued sponsors, Dominica Social Security, Fremont Consulting LLC, Navico Insurances, National Bank of Dominica, Insurance Company of the West Indies, Lindomart, KFC, Dominic, DBS Radio, Mayfield Pascal and Grace Foundation, Central Cooperative Credit Union, Q95 FM Radio, Emonews, Dominica News Online, Variety News Group, Charms Eats and Treats, Dr. Shana Kazumi, Dr. Liv Peltier, Dr. Mary Pastor Afana, Cheryl Rule, and Yakima Coffee Basil for making this event possible. We thank the media houses present here today for their coverage and for helping to amplify the voices of our young debaters to a wider audience. A special word of thanks to the DSC Literary and Debating Society for their vision and continuous efforts in promoting debating culture within our institution. We are deeply grateful to the organizing committee members, Alicia Zajak, Elisha Warrington, Alden Gage, Rhonda Luke, Daisy Williams, and Ms. Trudy Christian for their tireless planning, coordination, and execution of this event. Finally, we we extend our sincere appreciation to all the competing schools and their participants for your spirited performances, sportsmanship, and for making this debate both competitive and enriching. Thank you all once again for your invaluable contributions. Together, we have made this debate a memorable and successful one.
To the vote of thanks giver Jazz Maxwell, previous winner of the Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition. Jazz, what year? 2024? 2024 Intersecondary Schools Debating Competition champion. Ladies and gentlemen, that is the end of today's proceedings. I invite you before you leave to take to have a refreshment, and you will be assisted with that. And until next year, God willing, it has been a great debate season. Do take care. Bye-bye.
And with that, we come to the end of today's coverage of the Inter-Secondary School Debating Competition 2026, final here in Roseau. Congratulations once again to the Wesley High School on the outstanding victory, and commendations to the Dominica Grammar School for strong and commendable performance. From Truth and Grace Fellowship Global, I'm your reporter, Emonews. Thank you all for viewing. Remember, Emonews every moment online.